799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportcircus.com. That's info@thesportcircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Do you have any questions about legal issues? Have you ever...
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
From the Bureau of Economic Geology, this is Earth Date. Take a moment to look at your hands. Move them around and watch how the bones work. Think about what your hands have done in your lifetime alone. They learned to write. They drove your first car. Took the hand of the person you'd marry. They work every day in an office, shop, or laboratory. And they held or will hold your children for the very first time. Your hands will touch every part of your time on Earth. But the minerals that make them up are eternal. The calcium in the bones of your hands is older than the Earth itself. It formed after the Big Bang through supernova explosions and became concentrated in rocky planets. Once on Earth, it may have spent 500 million years drifting in seawater or passing through generations of ancient sea creatures. 200 million years more in the age of dinosaurs, making up the bones of tyrannosaurs or the eggshells of pteranodons. Your calcium then journeyed through 100 million years of mammals, finally pausing for a geologic split second to form your hands. After your hands have held their last cup of coffee or played their last song, no matter how your remains are disposed of, your calcium will one day re-enter the Earth. Who knows where it might end up next? Perhaps it could pass through the bones of generations of future humans, one of whom just may take a tiny part of you once again to another galaxy. I'm Scott Tinker, and thanks for listening.
Earth Date is produced by the Bureau of Economic Geology at the University of Texas at Austin. Earth Date is researched by Julie Hennings, written by Harry Lynch, and distributed by Mark Blunt and Casey Walker. For more stories, follow us on Facebook or visit earthdate.org.
It's time to say see you later, alligator, to embarrassing and troublesome issues with your skin, nails, and hair with all-natural Cayman alligator oil. Cayman oil is locally made, right in Louisiana, where people have been using alligator oil for centuries to treat all kinds of ailments. A drop a day of Cayman oil can help you say, see you later, alligator, to athlete's foot, nail fungus, acne, eczema, rashes, dry skin, cuts, infections, MRSA, scars, burns, sunburns, and even ingrown hair and dandruff. If you or someone you know is tired of suffering with any of these skin, nail, and hair troubles, you need to visit mycayman.com to learn more about 100% natural, non-toxic, hypoallergenic Cayman oil and get a bottle today. Say see you later, alligator, with Cayman alligator oil at mycayman.com. That's mycayman.com. mycayman.com.
From the very start of our nation,
it's time for Age of Being 2020 with Barbara Matthews, a show about successful aging, helpful services, and simplifying the complicated with practical solutions. And now, here's your host, Barbara Matthews.
Welcome to Age of Being 2020, a program dedicated to solving the challenges of senior care and aging. I'm Barbara Matthews, your host, gerontologist, elder care advocate, and author of the book Old Age, The Paradox of Physical Decline and Spiritual Greatness. You can learn more about me at iTunes, YouTube, Spreaker, and KCAAradio.com's webpage for Barbara Matthews. You can phone me at 951-428-4099. Right here on NBC News Radio Network each week, we'll introduce a helpful service, explain practical options, and simplify the complicated, all to help you and your family find good care, affordable care, to put your children's minds at peace, knowing you are okay, and to help you live your best life. We know most seniors want to stay in their own homes, but older homes need lots of repairs and renovations. In past weeks, we've talked about residential care options, where to find them, how to evaluate them, what the differences are, and the cost. Yes, it can be expensive for many seniors, and their children often offer to help pay for this care. So children, listen up. If you could find a new, beautiful home for your parents in a safe neighborhood where your parents would live for free, would you be interested to learn more? Of course you would. And you're thinking, what's the catch? Well, the next 30 minutes may be the most important half hour you spend in the rest of your life. I know that sounds dramatic, but I have a guest who's been helping investors and families turn single-family homes into cash flow machines for 30 years. My guest today is Gene Guarino, founder of Residential Assisted Living Academy, known by the initials RAL, and he's the nation's leader in teaching investors and entrepreneurial families how to own, operate, and invest in senior housing. He has 30 years experience in real estate, is a certified financial planner in both the United States and Australia, has written 4 books, hosted 3 radio shows, and has spoken in 5 countries and 50 cities in the last year. His motto is do good and do well. Welcome, Gene Guarino.
Thank you, Barbara. That was a wonderful introduction.
Well, I'm so glad to have you here. You come from the world of real estate, and I come from the world of senior care. But I think you've created a win-win-win for seniors, their families, and everyone involved. And let me tell the listeners why our conversation today is important and why you're here. As a gerontologist, I observe that too many seniors and their families don't plan ahead for their parents' health care and financial needs. These legal and difficult decisions are usually made at the last minute in the middle of crisis. And the family home and where the parents are going to live is one of those last-minute crises. If seniors and their families plan ahead, they have more options and better options. One option is to turn the family home into an income-generating asset that provides safe, comfortable housing for parents and a legacy of wealth building for the children. So, Gene, can you tell us more about this option and why it's so great?
Absolutely. You know, I know a lot of your listeners are probably in a situation where they're looking for a safe, comfortable place for mom or dad, or maybe even themselves. So I'm going to kind of lay out a few options for them, and you can let me know which ones to go further into. Okay. I think you laid it out, very well at the beginning, where you said a lot of seniors want to stay in their own home. And if the home is needing work, and it's hard to keep it up, I know that with my mom, it was just difficult for her to do that herself. One of the options would be, and I want you to think about the Golden Girls, right, co-housing. So co-housing is an opportunity to potentially stay in your home, have a few others move in with you, and then that way you get the community. You've got others who are paying towards the rent, the upkeep, and so on. And if you want to take it a step farther, if somebody needs care, whether it be you or a listener as somebody's parent or grandparent, you could hire a caregiver to come in and visit as needed. That cost could be split between 2, 3, 4 people, and that makes it a much more affordable opportunity.
I do.
That's one way.
Okay, go ahead. You were running through the list.
Yeah, so that would be one way. Another way, and I've had students come to our academy thinking I'm going to operate a business, but what they really needed was a place for mom to be safe, and they wanted to do it in a way that it paid for itself. So that is where I would recommend that they definitely do just a very small, as you say in California, RCFE or board and care. There's dozens of names across the country for it. But in a residential setting, if you have just a few people, and if mom or dad or yourself is one of them, hiring somebody to be there 24/7. That is expensive, but if it's split between 3 or 4 people, that is much less expensive than it would be if you're moving to a full assisted living facility or home. And then the third way would be to do what I do, which is to purposely buy the proper real estate in the right location and do it where it is a business, where there are 8, 10, 12 seniors in that home. There's full-time trained, licensed caregivers there during the day and at night. So 24/7, their needs are taken care of. And that's where it can become a very lucrative opportunity to do good and do well.
Jane, I want to talk about all three of these options. I don't want to spend a lot of time on the Golden Girls scenario, although as a baby boomer myself, I really do like that option. Just got a couple of questions regarding this one. So would it be better for one woman to build and manage that home and bring in some girlfriends, or is it just as optional to have several partners do this together?
Yeah, you certainly can do it as an investment where, let's say, you buy a home and create this opportunity and invite tenants to move in, and now they're going to co-live, so co-housing there together. The challenge is when somebody owns the home and they invite others to move into their home, that's a hard one for them to let go of. You know, it's others living in their home versus everybody's moving into a new home, a new place.
Okay, great to keep in mind. Let's explore the second option that you mentioned. Talk a little bit about that. I want to know, what you should think about with the location of the family home. What are the demographics that might make this a good investment? Should you renovate the old house? Should you build a new one? How long does it take to build? How long does it take to renovate? I got a million questions, so start wherever you want to.
That sounds good. Let me get 5 or 6 of them in. Here we go. The location. It's always about the demographics. It's not beachfront or mountaintop, but you want as many people around you as possible. Realistically, with assisted living, the people that live there, their families are the ones making the decision for where they move, and it's inconvenience to them. So usually 20 minutes is the radius. So within 20 minutes of a home, how many people are there? What is their economic ability to pay the rather high fees that there are? And then from there, the home itself, bigger is better than smaller.
Okay.
More bathrooms. More bathrooms.
Okay.
Go ahead. I was going to say more bathrooms is better than less bathrooms.
Good point.
Yeah, let me give you just in general. Again, California is unique, that they have a unique name, RCFE, but all across the country they call it different things. Most people in California who do this residential model, RCFE, board and care, they limit themselves to 6 people. If they put a sprinkler system in the home and had the permission in the neighborhood to do it, they could have an unlimited number, so 8, 10, 12. But most people say, I'm just going to do 6 so I can have one caregiver during the day. Mm-hmm. I look at it differently, Barbara. I operate this as a business where I would be proud to have my mom live there. And if I had 10 or 12 residents there, I can fully afford 2 caregivers full-time during the day, 1 at night. Everybody's very well taken care of. It's a bigger house, typically in a nicer area. And those residents are going to pay a similar fee as they would to a larger facility, but it's a flat fee. And that's one of the other issues. When people move into a big box facility, you never quite know what the bill is going to be at the end of the month.
And it goes up every year.
Yeah. And it's a base fee, and then they add on everything, medication management, food, and anything you could think of. So it may start out at $3,000, but at the end of the month, it's $6,000. So in our homes, it's one fee. It's a flat fee. It's $5,000 or whatever the number is. You know exactly what it is. The families are private pay. They're the ones paying for it. So we typically don't deal with Medicare or Medicaid. Right. There are some homes that focus on that. We focus on the private pay. And those tend to be nicer, more upscale homes.
Yes, and it sounds like then whether you build... whether you renovate to be able to handle 6 residents or 10 residents may be limited by the amount of money you have to work with, whether it's from your own asset or a loan that you might get or refocusing or all the family pitching in. I would think most of the issues you have to think about are similar, no matter if you want a smaller place or a larger place. Or am I incorrect in that thinking?
Oh, you're perfectly, and that's exactly what I teach people is, whether you do it small or do it big, it's the same amount of work. You still have to go through the process, have caregivers, have a manager, and be responsible for. So I really want to encourage your listeners to think about this in two different ways. One is, if it's just about taking care of mom or dad or a loved one, let's think about it one way. And if it's a business, well, then we're going to take care of other people's moms and dads, but we're going to do it where the numbers make sense, where economically we can make more money, and hopefully we're providing a much better product and service that way. So it really depends on which direction you want to go there. You can do either or both.
One of the things I tell families is, begin this planning process ahead, begin ahead. And I'm thinking if they begin immediately to look at their parents, whether they're still very active in their 60s or, whether they're beginning to have some health challenges, if you explore this option of building a larger place and going into business for yourself, do you have a child about to go into college such that this child might be interested in senior care? In other words, it could become a family business of running a larger, more profitable kind of board and care.
It could be. And, I have 4 kids and 2 grandkids myself. I always want my kids to do what they're passionate about. So I'm fortunate that they all work with me in the senior housing, but I'm not going to assume that everybody's kid wants to. If they do, it's a wonderful thing.
You're right, but you need time to explore that. Jean, let me take a break here, and we'll be back in just a minute.
You've been listening to The Age of Being 2020 with Barbara Matthews. We'll return right after this. Need a speaker for a church group, women's group, senior group? A speaker with an uplifting message about aging? A speaker with 20 years experience in senior and health care who reveals what you need to know to protect yourself as you grow older. She's the author of the book titled Old Age, The Paradox of Physical Decline and Spiritual Greatness. Author and speaker Barbara Matthews exposes the shortcomings of our present-day system of caring for older adults and offers a better model filled with purpose and meaning. Barbara Matthews is available for presentations from half an hour to all-day events. For more information, email ageofbeing@gmail.com. That's ageofbeing@gmail.com. You can also find her book, Old Age, The Paradox of Physical Decline and Spiritual Greatness at Amazon.com. Do you know an older adult who seems to have no purpose in life? Children are grown and gone, health problems limit a social life, driving has become difficult, loneliness and boredom are not unusual for older adults. One of the best gifts you can give them, or give yourself to help them, is a book titled Old Age, The Paradox of Physical Decline and Spiritual Greatness. It explains that although one's physical body is declining in old age, one's spirit is growing stronger, wiser, greater. There's new purpose and new meaning in aging. Go to Amazon.com. Look for the book titled Old Age, The Paradox of Physical Decline and Spiritual Greatness by elder care advocate and author Barbara Matthews, and order it today. That's Barbara Matthews, Old Age, The Paradox of Physical Decline and Spiritual Greatness. Now, more of The Age of Being 2020 with Barbara Matthews.
Welcome back to Age of Being 2020, the program dedicated to solving the challenges of senior care and aging. For more information, call 951-428-4099. I'm Barbara Matthews, and today we're talking with Gene Guarino about his RAL Academy and families thinking about going into the business of senior care to, as Gene says, do good and do well. Gene, board and cares, as I like to call the little RCFEs and the assisted livings, are springing up everywhere in California. Are we getting to the place where we don't need to build more senior housing?
Well, actually, they're springing up because the need is growing so fast that they can't get the large facilities out of the ground fast enough sometimes. Now, I deal with residential, so turning a home into the assisted living, but I also am in the world of the larger big box facility, and it's really interesting, Barbara, when I go to the larger events where we speak to the owners of Brookdales and Sunrise and Altria, they're all trying to be a home. They talk about community and being like a home, and that's their struggle, is they're a hotel converted into. And, you know, my mom, my dad, they lived in a home for 80 years. They didn't want to move to a hotel that looks nice. That's eye candy for us, the kids. They want to be in a home, their own home if they could. So we have something that's better than the big box. We have typically a better caregiver to resident ratio than they do. It's a more intimate atmosphere. The pricing is about the same, and it's very convenient because it literally could be in the same neighborhood that their kids live in.
And the personalization is the most important thing. That staff or caregiver staff to resident ratio is critical. I mean, we want the best care for our parent, and that is typically the most important factor. So if a family is thinking, well, gosh, wouldn't know where to begin with this. How do I do it? Do investors need to be experts in real estate to start this process? And could your academy help them in any way?
Yes. So, number one, they don't need to be experts in real estate, but if they have some expertise or experience in it, certainly could be helpful. They don't have to be a business professional or have experience there, but if they have it, it could be helpful. Definitely do not need to have medical background. You have tremendous background and experience and training in medical. I don't have that. I'm an entrepreneur, a business owner, a real estate investor. So you're looking at this care and this need from the other side, and I'm looking to provide that situation that you can provide that care in. So those listening who are thinking, how can I get involved? There's three major ways that they could get involved. One would be where they own the real estate and lease it to an operator of the RCFE or the board in care. So they might own a home and say, I'm going to lease it to somebody and maybe charge twice the market rent and have a long-term 5-year lease with little or no maintenance because the owners of the RCFE will take care of all that. So that could be one way to participate. Another way would be to operate the business in somebody else's. So take the other side of that. You could lease somebody's real estate. Much less expensive, less money up front. The landlord, the owner of the real estate, may even do some of the renovation that you want to have done, whether it be smoke detectors or fire suppression or take out bathtubs and put in roll-in walk-in showers and so on. And then the third way is to do both. So own the real estate and operate the business. That's what I do in our academy, teaches people how to do the real estate, the business, and both. And then there's one more. For those people who are saying, I just want to write a check and receive checks, just invest in something, what we call impact investing. You're not just getting 4% on a bond and it's nameless, faceless, but you know you're really doing something great. You're really helping people. That's the do good part, and getting a good solid return. So investing either as a lender or as a joint venture partner. And if you do it right, you may even position it so that I'll be the investor and I get a piece of the business, but I also can move into the home. Maybe live there for free or at a discounted rate. So we can intertwine them all.
There are lots of good options. I didn't realize it could be structured so very differently. So that gives all of us a lot more to think about in terms of ways to make this work. Could we do this in any state, any country, maybe even outside the United States?
Yes, you can. You know, it's interesting because we always talk about the baby boomers and we think it's just the U.S. No, it's a world war that ended. And literally, I've been in countries, Belize and Panama and other countries where they're facing the same need and crisis that we are. So you certainly can do it there. And those countries that have a good number of expats, people that have moved from the U.S. to there, they need assistance with their living as well. So you could open the business there. The labor costs are much lower. You can, like in Panama, for instance, you could have a full-time doctor for $1,000 a month. You could have live-in caregivers for $600 a month. Here it would cost a lot more than that, as you might imagine, but much less expensive on the labor side than it is in the U.S. And the real estate may or may not be less expensive because we have a different standard than most other countries. So by the time it's an Americanized, comfortable house for an American, it gets just as expensive as any place else. So throughout the U.S., you can do it in virtually any state. Some are easier than others. Some it's more common than others. California's got the most RCFEs and boarding cares per state than the entire country, but that's because it is the size of a country.
But go ahead.
I was going to say in California alone, there's 6,000 or 7,000 of these homes. Arizona, there's about 3,000. Florida, about 3,000. Throughout the country, there's about 30,000 of these homes that are being used for this purpose.
So if people come to your academy, can they get the information they need about their state, or do they just need to be from California or Arizona?
Yeah, absolutely. When they come, we've done the research all over the country. So when somebody comes, we know what the rules and regulations are. We also can point them right to the .gov website to do all their own research. But it's all very local. So there is no federal laws that mandate this. The states have rules and regulations, guidelines. And then beyond that, it's down to the city, the state, and the local. It does have to be a safe, comfortable house, so senior safe. So there's going to be a certificate of occupancy. There's going to be a fire and safety code, so fire inspections to keep anybody who's in there safe. It's typically licensed by the state, and the state's going to come in and do an inspection. And I know that all sounds a little onerous, but it's not. We've done it many times before and helped thousands of people do it too.
Well, how can we reach you? How can a family get more information? Do you have a website?
We do. I'm going to give you a couple of websites if it's all right. Yeah, one of them is AL Family. So alfamily.com. There's a link to all of our different companies. So we own and operate these homes, and then we train people how to own and operate. So the training one is ralacademy.com. ralacademy.com. That's a great place to go and get a lot of great information. And I wrote a book, and if they'd like to get a free copy of the book, I'd be more than happy to give that to them. It's at ral101.com.
ral101.com. Okay. I am so disappointed that we are out of time. I have a couple of other critical questions, but they're going to have to wait. Jean, thank you so very much for helping us understand that it's an option not only for doing good by caring for seniors, but also for creating a strong cash flow for financial well-being. I think absolutely this is a win-win-win for everyone. In like 15 seconds, tell me why this real estate niche is great for a smart money investment. Because a lot of people may not necessarily want to function as an operator, but why is this investment so good for smart money?
I'm going to give you in a nutshell. Everything is cyclical, and I think right now real estate is kind of at a high in the current cycle. But with residential assisted living, it doesn't matter from the top or the bottom. It's the cash flow that counts. And my final words, everybody's going to get involved in this one way or the other, Barbara, either as the real estate owner, the business owner, or lying in a bed writing a check to somebody who is. So you may as well choose smart and get involved now.
I think you're right. Thank you, Jean. It's been terrific to have you with us. Join me in 2 weeks on June 17th when Julie Phelan, who has a talk show, Julie Talks Money, right here on KCAA Radio Saturday mornings, joins me for a more detailed conversation about the subject of real estate for residential senior care in the Inland Empire. Then next week, June 10, you don't want to miss all the valuable information about taking the best care of your brain. As we age, most of us are going to experience some cognitive decline like confusion and memory loss. But did you know that you can grow healthy new neurons and improve your memory? June is Healthy Brain Month, and the Alzheimer's Association, which knows more about brain than practically any other entity, will be here to give us good news on how to stay mentally sharp, so don't miss it. For much more information on the subject of assisted living, the services provided, and the cost, go to Amazon.com and check out my book, Old Age, The Paradox of Physical Decline and Spiritual Greatness. You can find me on iTunes, YouTube, Spreaker, and my webpage at KCAAradio.com. You can phone me at 951-428-4099. Join me next week for Age of Being 2020, helping you live your best life. You're listening to KCAA Radio, simulcast in both AM and FM on the NBC News Radio Network.
You've been listening to The Age of Being 2020 with Barbara Matthews on KCAA. Join us each week as we explore successful aging, helpful services, and simplifying the complex.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292FQ Riverside, and K293CF Moreno Valley.
Talk 102.3 FM Riverside, KCAA NBCRadioNews.com.
This is InfoTrack.